Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
It's time now for the Patty Conklin Show, exclusively on HealthyLife.net radio.
Okay, everyone. This is Fernessa K. Hall, MD, as Patty likes to say, and I am hosting for Patty today. She needed to take a little time off. I am so happy to introduce my guest, my special guest, Greta Counts. She is the founder of the Center for Self-Awareness. She's the author of 2 books. She's a business coach, an individual coach. She's a Hay House certified coach. She's a thought leader in the Center for Spiritual Living. A mother of twins, a great friend, gymnast, a chemical engineer, and Lord knows what else. Thank you so much for joining me today on the show.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Dr. Hall. I absolutely love when we have our dialogues, and so this is going to be great because it's a live dialogue and we get to share it with others. So I'm excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's go ahead and jump in. Tell me, how did you get from majoring in chemical engineering at Georgia Tech to where you are today? I mean, that just they seem so completely unrelated.
Yes. So that's a very interesting question, and it is. You know, one of the things that I loved about science and math was the exactness of science. Anytime you went into a lab and you put 2 things together, you always got the same thing given the measurements that you used. And it didn't matter who was in that laboratory. If you used the same things, it was something that you could prove or disprove. And that's what I loved about math and science more than anything and being in the laboratory. Today, I think of myself as a thought engineer instead of a chemical engineer. Yeah, I think of myself as a thought engineer, and someone actually told me that about me after working with me, and I thought, that is so cool, because she had no idea that I had majored in chemical engineering. And she said, you know, you're always helping me with my thoughts, and you're always helping me understand the importance of thinking positively and thinking rightly for myself. And she said, you know, I kind of think of you as a thought engineer. And I thought, oh, my gosh, that is exactly what I do. I help people engineer their thoughts and their feelings so that they can have mental and emotional clarity, and they know how to move through and navigate life. And I help them to identify what they're thinking and what they're feeling so they can create a life that is substantial and sustainable. So, you know, transforming the way people think and feel and behave is exciting to me, just like being in the laboratory. You know, whenever I was in the laboratory, I loved that we were doing things with our hands and, you know, you could make some things happen, and it was just so cool to do that. But being in the laboratory was a lonely road, so I always wanted to interact with people, and generally in the laboratory is only the people who can be in there. Not, you know, you're not going to have a whole lot of people in the lab. So now I'm working in the laboratory of life and getting the opportunity to do workshops and coaching and trainings and all of that and have some fun with humans, you know. So I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm so glad I made the pivot.
Yes, I'm so glad you made the pivot. We met, I guess about 20 years ago, and we've worked together, you know, periodically, more recently on a regular basis. And I have to agree with you. You are a thought engineer. I am aware of what I'm thinking, and I am more aware, understanding the emotional and physical impact my thoughts have on me and have on my behavior. I think, what I've learned, one of the 5 million things I've learned from working with you is that if we don't deal with our past and clear it out, then we are prone to think the same thoughts, behave the same way, get triggered the same way, and create the same reality that we've had all along. So I have absolutely benefited from our work together, and it's ongoing. It's a lifelong process, yes. I think. Mm-hmm. So, I've always been curious about your time at Hay House with Louise Hay. She's a mensch, among the humans, with her work. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yes. So, after 4 years of studies with the Centers for Spiritual Living, becoming what's called a licensed practitioner, we study metaphysics and quantum theory and how to navigate life using principles, universal principles that make your life great. And, I won't say that I was so brilliant and I wanted to just, I realized I needed to do this, but life was lifing for me. And I could not understand how to stop it. I'm like, the things that I did not want to happen for me, I was really seeking to understand how my life could be different. So I just started taking classes because I'm a lifelong learner. I figure if I don't know how to do something, then somebody else knows how to do it, and I can just take a class, and I can always learn how to apply it to my life. So I took this one class, and then I took the second class, and then 2 years later I was still taking these classes, and then 3 years later I was still in the classes, and finally they said, you can become a practitioner if you want to take the exams and all of that. And I thought, well, heck yeah, because my life had changed. So, I had made a complete 180-degree turn from struggling with anxiety and having mild panic attacks and living a life where I felt overwhelmed, and I just could not seem to figure out how to get out of this cycle. And so I studied with the Centers for Spiritual Living and got my license, and after that I was waiting to take my orals. You have to take these oral exams where you sit from these people. It's a very serious thing. And I thought, wow, while I'm waiting, I want something else to do, and I saw an ad to take a Heal Your Life training. So I decided to enroll in that, and I went out and treated myself for my birthday back in February 2012. So I'm going to treat myself to this. And so we had, it was a 14-day stay there in San Diego, and you go through the process before you can be licensed to do the workshops, and the workshop was powerful. I learned so much about myself, and it was perfect for me pivoting from and waiting to take my orals for being a practitioner. And in the time that I was there in San Diego, it was just so incredible. And you go through things like forgiveness and inner child work and all the stuff you just don't, you know that is weighing you down. You don't really know how to synchronize it in a way that you can get through it. But those days that we were there, those days were spent doing just that. And I learned so much about myself, about my history, about my family, about my life. And it really is, obviously she wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life, and that is what we were there doing, healing our lives. And at the end of it, they teach you how to offer these workshops that she offered for years. She offered them for years. And so I was very fortunate to do all of that. She died later, but I was fortunate to be there. At the time, they were doing the I Can Do It conferences. So I'm just so super grateful that I followed my heart and did that. And then I went back in November and got my license as a coach.
I see.
So, yeah.
Well, that sounds absolutely amazing. I've read, at your direction, some of her books, and I refer to them. I have, excuse me, friends will tell me about, I mean, I'm a physician, so people tell me all sorts of things about what's ailing them. But people would tell me things, and I'm always curious. So I always refer to her book, Heal Your Life, to see what is the emotional baggage that is associated with that condition or that symptom. And what I've seen is that it's so accurate that, you know, I'll give my mother, for example. She moved in with my sister, which was a huge mistake. That's a long story that needs alcohol. And just was so overwhelmed and so mistreated, I would say, that she had a couple of strokes and then had dementia. She was physically okay. She could walk, you know, she could talk, she could, you know, use her arms and legs, but, you know, she didn't know who I was, and she didn't know up from down or day from night. And, you know, you look at dementia, and it's where a person is just unable to cope with reality. And I was just like, oh, my goodness. So, you know, I have much respect for Louise Hay. And, you know, coming from the allopathic medical world where, you know, you have a symptom and then we do a test, we do a blood test, we do an X-ray, you know, and here's a pill for that, you know, never learned that connection between, I mean, they skim it, but very superficially, but, you know, deep down that connection between thoughts and feelings and emotions and symptoms and disease, actual disease. And so, you know, I have to take my hat off to Louise Hay for really being a pioneer and bringing that more to the forefront, and for all the practitioners that I'm so sorry, that do that as well. And I'm fascinated by it, and have incorporated some of those things into my consulting, because I firmly believe that if we don't address those things, it just manifests another way, you know. And I used to tell my patients, you know, your body's telling you you need to change up, and at first it's a whisper, and then it raises its voice. And if you don't pay attention to it and handle it, it's eventually just going to hit you with a sledgehammer, and then you have disease, you know, outright disease. Tell me about some of the things you've witnessed when you've done your workshops.
Oh my goodness, I have seen people come into such self-awareness about, I get to see people identify the point of origin for the thing that's ailing them. You know, like sometimes they think that it's one person in particular in their family, and in some of the meditation exercises or the visualization exercises, they will say, oh my goodness, I did one just in July of 2024, and there was a gentleman in there who was conceived by way of rape. And so his mother didn't want him. So she kept her other children and moved to another place and left him with other people in his family to raise him because she was rejecting him from that. And he had this huge epiphany in July about just when he left the workshop. It was a 2-day workshop. He has so much compassion for her, but he's lived all of his life being angry with her, feeling really bad that he was left out, you know, all these things. But by the time the workshop was over, he had pure divine compassion for her, because one of the things that we go through in that 2-day workshop is forgiveness. And he was like, oh my gosh, like my mom was so bitter and angry and all the things about what happened to her, and she, projected that onto me and just didn't want any parts of me. But the thing that was interesting was as, we did the exercises, he realized that the children that went with her didn't become successful. The children that went with her, they suffered living with the woman who was still wounded from what happened. He actually thrived, is doing extremely well in his life, being raised by his grandmother, and his life turned out differently, and he realized that he had compassion. And so what's so beautiful to see is when people go, wow, they get these aha moments that, number one, there's nothing wrong with me. I am okay just like I am. And if I can just learn to practice self-acceptance, if I can accept me, all of me, exactly as I am, then life can get better for me, but it cannot get better as long as I am rejecting myself, resisting what happened. The thing I say about forgiveness is this. Forgiveness is letting go of the need for the past to be different than it was.
Yes.
It is letting go of the need for the past to be different than it was. So sometimes we get caught in the cycle of, I wish that didn't happen to me, which is where he was, And if I had to guess his age, he was probably in his 60s or late 50s, but he's lived his entire life feeling rejected and feeling abandoned and feeling betrayed by his mom because he felt like she didn't want him. But he came to a new realization and realized he has so much to be grateful for, but that hasn't been his focus because he, needed to forgive her for leaving him and forgive her for not wanting him as he felt that was his perception. It would be any child's perception to have that. And so it's this perfect combination of, because the way Louise designed the workshop to work, it works perfectly, like the timing of when the inner child work is done, the timing of when you are facing the emotional things that your family deals with, because you deal with the whatever those limiting beliefs are based on family stuff. So it's so perfectly designed. And so by the time we get to day 2, a person is ready to write a new story for their lives, and they leave there feeling so very different than they've ever felt before because we move through it. It's kind of icky. Day 1 is really an icky kind of day. You just feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to talk about this. But the way we do it in a safe environment where you feel the nurturing that happens with it, then you realize, wow. And I had a gentleman in there who said he hasn't cried since he was a kid, and he said to the gentleman who was crying about his experience and his realization about his mother, and he said, I am a man who wants to be able to cry. He said, it's not normal for me to go through life and not ever cry about anything. And so by day 2, he had his time to cry, like he was able to cry, which is a huge release for him based on some things he had faced. He grew up in London. So, the workshop is incredible. It just is. It is.
Well, it's interesting because I'm reading Practicing the Power of Now that you recommended to me, and I see how forgiveness is spending your time in the past. The only moment we have to do anything with is now.
Yes.
The future is based on what we do now. The past is done. And if you're living in the past, then you are missing out, and you aren't dealing with reality. And it just struck me, that forgiveness is just letting stuff go. Like Michael Singer says, Luke, let go of your hands, in that podcast when Luke is holding on to the tug of war rope. It's just let go. But it's such a hard thing to do, and for those gentlemen to get to that point in 2 days, that's powerful. That's powerful. That's life changing. for the gentleman, who had all that resentment, and and I think many times when we do get caught up in our past, we aren't able to fully enjoy our present moment. We don't appreciate the things that we have. One of my favorite sayings, and I have to paraphrase it, is, that we need to be grateful for what we don't want that we didn't get.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so we can sit around and we can cry about, whatever, but there's other things that are so much worse, and we need to be grateful for everything. The fact that we're on this side of the grass breathing, the fact that we have music at our fingertips, that we have, and, when we focus on what we actually have, walking in the park in the springtime, seeing the flowers blooming, it's beautiful. Or, watching my friend's cat, Stella, and her little antics, and, how she's so loving, and, just little things. When we really look at the landscape of what we have, that's where we get fulfillment. That's where we get enriched. When we get bogged down in the past, it's just like a lead weight holding us down. So when we come back, we will have more from my favorite coach, Greta Counts.
Want to get that man or woman out of your mind? How about being in the right state of mind for getting that job promotion, or staying positive to help boost your immune system? Want to break those old habits? Then it's time for an emotional cellular cleansing with Patty Conklin. You'll get a private 3-hour session in person, by phone, or by Zoom, with 3 months of follow-up appointments, plus email support. But you'll have to do the work, and homework materials are included. Find out more, or to book your appointment, visit pattyconklin.com. That's pattyconklin.com.
Audiobooks gives you instant access to over 50,000 of the best sellers and hottest book titles in romance, mystery, fiction, and many other genres. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Audiobooks to get started.
If you're wondering if Patty can help you heal, why not book a free 15-minute consultation either by phone or by Zoom? It's a great way to see which of Patty's services is right for you. You'll discuss her services in detail and how they can apply to your specific situation. It's really a great place to start, and you can sign up for your free consultation by phone or Zoom on Patty's website, pattyconklin.com. That's pattyconklin.com. Get the help you need today. Sign up for your free consultation at pattyconklin.com.
ASMC, the premier German company that supplies everything for adventure, from outdoor clothes to outdoor gear, even backpacks. Lots of quality and lots of specials. To start your adventure, go to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ASMC.
Okay, I get it. You're a doubting Thomas, and you don't want to pay for something unless you can know what it's all about. Well, now you can find out just what Patty Conklin's energy healing is all about. Go to pattyconklin.com to sign up for her free group energy adjustment, held every Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Experience for yourself the transformative energy designed to bring calm and healing to your life. Space is limited, so sign up now. Go to pattyconklin.com, click on Services, and you're there.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Okay, we are back. This is Fernessa K. Hall, MD, as Patty likes to say, with my special guest, Greta Counts. So Greta, I would like to go back to this concept of you being a thought engineer. I know in our work, you've certainly helped me recognize the thoughts going on in my head and actually get some separation, because those thoughts aren't me. You know, it's not my voice. I'm the one watching the voice. So can you touch on that concept and how you work with people to really grasp that concept?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I realized in my own life when I was going through things was that I was having the same, you asked the question, why does this keep happening to me? And I could not figure out, like, how to get off of the hamster wheel. And one day I read that we each have about 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And I thought to myself, I know that I'm not thinking that much, but I really wanted to know the science, like who measured it. Like, that's really where my mind went. But anyway,
that's
neither here. Yes, that's neither here nor there. But this is what I found out, is that of those 70,000 thoughts we have a day, they are all repetitive thoughts. So that means that we are all repetitively thinking the same thought over and over. So if it's I'm not enough, or I'm going to fail at this, or I don't feel good, or I feel sick today, or, I'm tired, or I'm exhausted, or whatever it is that we're thinking, that is being played, the narrative is being played over and over and over and over and over again. Now, the thing is that I learned in Science of Mind is that, which is the same thing that Louise studied with Dr. Ernest Holmes, is that there is a creative process, and it starts with your thoughts. So your thoughts lead to your feelings, and then your feelings lead to your beliefs, and then your beliefs lead to your actions, and your actions give you results. So we have this thought that's ruminating in our minds, and it's ruminating a lot of times daily on a regular, and we're like, most of us are on autopilot with what we're thinking, because we've been thinking it since we were kids. So you have this thought that's ruminating and this repetitively going round and round and round. This is like a whole science. To me, this is the science behind it. And before you know it, you feel some kind of way. But the thing that we must remember is we don't have to believe everything we think. Just because you think a thought doesn't make it true, number one. And number two, you don't have to believe the thought you're thinking. You can actually choose a different thought. So if you feel tired when you wake up in the morning, you can actually choose to think that you are feeling a different way, and your body, your life, everything will respond to that. So just because a thought pops up in your mind, and it is just, who knows where it came from? It came from all kinds of places. It comes from social media. It comes from childhood. It comes from an experience you witnessed. It comes from something you watched on Netflix yesterday. I mean, the thought just shows up. But what we do with our thoughts makes all the difference in the world. And if you think a thought long enough, then you'll start to feel a certain way. And if you start feeling a certain way, you'll buy into the belief of the feeling that you're having. But just because you feel that way doesn't make it true, right? So now you have this belief, and now you're trapped in the belief of the thing. And now that you believe that you're going to fail at this because you always do, you believe you're not going to get the promotion at work because other people in your family never got promoted and they always got passed over for promotion, or you believe that women this and men that, and whatever your beliefs are, or money does whatever you believe, the next thing you know, the action is going to follow. So your behavior is going to actually show up based on your belief that started with the feeling, that started with the thought. And then the next thing you know, you have these results, and there you are, and it's like, voila. So, and so you got to go to the beginning of the whole thing, and that's why I love working with people to help them transform their thinking and feeling and behaviors, because if you don't, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten, and that's just the way it goes. And so it's not discriminatory either, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a child thinking it, or an adult, or a black person, or a white person, or a woman, or a man, or somebody who's gay, or somebody who's straight. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with any of that. It has everything to do with you and your private thoughts And only each of us know what those thoughts are if we're paying attention. And most people are on autopilot. They wake up, they brush their teeth, they take a shower, they go to work, and they're not thinking about what they're thinking about.
Right. They're not aware that they're actually having those thoughts. It makes me remember someone recommended the book The 7-Day Mental Diet by Emmett Fox. $4 on booklet, actually. You can read it in 20 minutes. And I remember, you're supposed to be aware of your thoughts, and if you have a negative thought, you push it aside, and then you replace it with a positive thought. And I never got the 7 days. To this day, I haven't gotten the 7 days. But what I realized was, who is this psychopath talking to me in my head every day? I became aware of this crazy person saying these wacko things. And I was like, oh my God. I thought I was this happy, well-balanced person, with a nice life and whatever. But the way whatever it is talking to me, I thought, oh my God, this is insane. And I think, that just the first step to be aware of the thought, and I think, we talked about this before, where your life is a reflection of what you've been thinking and believing all the time. Because if you, like you said, if you think that and you believe it, then your behavior, your actions match that. So then of course you're going to get what you've been getting. You can't,
and my teacher, yes.
I'm sorry.
It's so true. No, I was going to say, my teacher used to say, if you want to know what you think, look around your life. That's what he used to always say. If you want to know what you think, look around your life. Your life will tell you what you think. You'll be able to see very clearly with what's around you, what you're thinking, and it's very telling when that happens. I didn't like it when he said that.
Yes, it's true. It's true. But, it reminds me of one of our sessions. And I was telling you about how I thought my mother liked my sister more. She always, took her shopping and this and that and the other. And that when I was in medical school, my mother would call me and say, call your sister. She's having a big, mock trial in law school. We were at school. Give her a call, and cheer her up and whatever. And I'm thinking, well, who's calling me when I'm having my difficult test? Nobody's calling me. You're calling me to help her. Like, what the heck? So in my mind, it's like, she likes her more. And you said to me, well, who made up that story? I'm like, well, I did. Did your mother tell you that? No. So that's just your thoughts. She goes, come up with a new thought. Your mother liked you because it respected you and trusted you to help her with her sister because your sister needed help. And I was like, oh, drop the mic. Drop the mic. So, anyway, we will come back to that and more. So, everybody hang on to this fantastic chat with Coach Greta Counts.
The pulse of the blood in your veins means you're alive, but a high or low pulse could mean you're not in balance, which could cause problems. But now, Patty Conklin has found 3 ways that can constantly make sure your pulse is kept in balance so you can move easier through life. Subscribe to Patty's Healing Pulse today. It has a plethora of things to do, discounts, book club, and so much more. Visit pattyconklin.com to find out more about Patty's Healing Pulse subscriptions. That's pattyconklin.com.
Reach your health and fitness goals. Whether you want to lose weight, learn to dance, build muscle, or just live healthy, Beachbody gives you unlimited access to the nation's most popular fitness and weight loss solutions. Visit our advertiser page and click on Beachbody now.
You may not be in the same room or even the same country, but Patty Conklin's remote energy work can help you heal whether you have an illness, emotional wounds, or are in spiritual turmoil. And she can do it remotely. You can choose your session time, too, starting from 30 minutes, 3 hours, or even 6-hour sessions. Healing energy. Healing you no matter where you are. Visit PattyConklin.com. Scroll down to Remote Healing and book your appointment now. That's Remote Healing at PattyConklin.com.
For the best in business class travel, count on Cheapo Air. Cheapo Air has the best price guarantee, 24/7 customer service, and easy booking online or by phone. To experience your hassle-free journey, start by going to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Cheapo Air.
If you're on PattyConklin.com, you might want to visit her store. There you can inexpensively buy powerful visualizations on a plethora of subjects, all to help you heal, help rebuild your immune system, work with color or tonal energy, help remove fear and depression, and so much more. Plus, you can get Patty's best-selling book at her store, To Be Your Best Too. God Within is a great book to teach you how to use the lost knowledge of the universe to impact your physical life today. Visit her store at PattyConklin.com. You'll be glad you did. PattyConklin.com.
Expanding your mind. HealthyLife.net.
Okay, we are back. Vanessa K. Hall, MD. I am hosting for Patty, who is away, and my special guest, Greta Counts, is with us. And so just before the break, I had shared, that I had this belief that my mother really liked my sister and cared for her more. And, and you told me, well, that's the story you made up in your head. It's basically fiction because no one told you that. And certainly my mother loves me, and I know that. And what that allowed me to do was to make some space to be able to forgive her for things, but most importantly, to forgive myself for harboring this belief for so long, and how it had to have shaped, my behavior. At this point, my mother had passed. And so, I know that for myself, being able to let that go and to forgive myself, cut myself some slack, I felt relieved and I felt lighter, and I can see how that weighs you down.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Yes. Oh my gosh, definitely it weighs you down. And the thing that I realize about forgiveness or unforgiveness is when we're unwilling to forgive, it actually creates dis-ease in the body. There's discord in your mind and there's dissonance in your heart. And ultimately disdain in your spirit. And so you have this drought in your emotions and this disconnection overall because of this unforgiveness that you're carrying. And my body was telling me that for many years. And I can recall there were certain things that would happen inside my body health related, and I had this persisting thing, and what it was for me was constipation. I struggled with constipation most of my life, and I could not understand for the life of me, and I had taken everything from the alternative community, from the medical community, and nothing was changing, and I'm like, what the heck is it? And so I started taking all these workshops and doing all this work around forgiveness, not knowing that that's what it was related to. And the day, one day my dad had a massive heart attack, and I showed up in his hospital room, and I said to him, I wanted to say I love you because he was code blue, okay? I wanted to say I love you, but that words weren't there. So I said, you are forgiven. That's the only words that came to mind. And I want to tell you that from that day on, I had no problems eliminating. In fact, wow. It felt like, yes, and it was so amazing that when as you mentioned, the Heal Your Body book, when you look it up and you see I was emotionally constipated. I was hanging on to and never letting go of how I felt in my relationship with my dad. And because of it, that was the physical thing that I struggled with all my life. And it finally stopped when I was willing to forgive. And it's just so amazing how holding on to something is holding on to you if you are unwilling to forgive. And it's in anybody's best interest. You know, Mark Twain says it like this. He said, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the hill that has crushed it."
Ooh,
you know?
I mean, just think about that for a minute. I mean, that quote, I mean, Mark Twain we knew was brilliant, but my goodness gracious, that quote just sent tingles down my spine.
Yes.
Ooh, you know.
Isn't that good?
So, yeah. Now, you wrote a book about forgiveness.
I created a journal. I'm in the process of writing the book, yes. And so the journal was written in September at the end of 2024, and I am in the process of writing. That is my second book, and it is entitled "You Are Forgiven," and it is expected to be released on Father's Day of 2025. And so I'm so excited, and it's entitled "You Are Forgiven" because it's about the journey that I had with my dad and this whole lifelong period of living with unforgiveness and doing all these other amazing things, but never, always having this void inside of me. And so my own definition of forgiveness looks like this. I believe forgiveness is an opportunity to change your relationship with yourself. It's not about the other person. It is an opportunity for you to apologize to yourselves. Do you know that your cells, you know it because you're an MD, but your cells are regenerating themselves all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And the disservice that we do to ourselves when we are unwilling to forgive someone else or ourselves, it is harmful. And then it's also an opportunity to transcend yourself. Like, it keeps you locked on a specific level when you're unwilling to forgive. So this is really an opportunity for you to change your relationship with yourself, for you to say, hey, I love you, which takes us to self-love. Let's let this go because this isn't serving us. And unforgiveness is really about you, the individual. It's not about the perpetrator.
Right. Because otherwise you're both in jail.
Yes. Right. Yes.
You've got them in jail because of whatever they did, but you're in the jail with them. And like with my sister, it dawned on me that I am here ruminating and just stewing over all of her stuff. And I'm losing sleep at night and, feeling terrible. And then it's just like it hit me. She's sleeping like a baby. I'm the one suffering. And I'm like, oh, no. So I get to suffer twice? I'm like, oh, no. This has to stop.
Right. Yes. And I'm sure you've heard this one. Unforgiveness is like holding a hot coal in your hand looking for somewhere to throw it. All the while you're holding it, it's burning your hand. You're looking for, where am I going to throw this? Where am I going to throw this? But you're the one being harmed by it. And it just doesn't serve you. And Eric Butterworth says it like this, and I love this. He says, unforgiveness means you are unaware of your divinity and acting at the level of your humanity. Yeah.
Wow.
And I love that.
I love that too. But I had this image of someone holding a hot coal in their hand, looking around where to put it, and then I see them throwing it at other people because when you hold on to this stuff, you act out, right?
That's so true.
And so you're spreading your dis-ease, and your anger and whatever, to everyone around you because you're holding this hot thing, but it keeps coming back and you keep throwing it. So we will come back to more about forgiveness after the break. Thank you. Thank you so much, Greta.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Patty Conklin is busy, but she's never too busy for you, and there are lots of ways to get a healing session with her. You can even get one via Zoom or by phone. With 29 years in the business of energy healing, Patty has a unique and remarkable ability to connect with your energy to help you heal on a mind, body, spirit level. From angst to pain, you can get help from Patty. Book a half-hour healing session and embark on your own personal healing journey. Visit pattyconklin.com and click on services. That's pattyconklin.com.
If you're looking for unique items at affordable prices, then you should try Dream Product. From apparel to beauty, from shoes to therapeutic relief products, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Dream Products, and maybe your dreams might just come into reality.
Want to get that man or woman out of your mind? How about being in the right state of mind for getting that job promotion or staying positive to help boost your immune system? Want to break those old habits? Then it's time for an emotional cellular cleansing with Patty Conklin. You'll get a private 3-hour session in person, by phone, or by Zoom with 3 months of follow-up appointments, plus email support. But you'll have to do the work, and homework materials are included. Find out more or to book your appointment, visit pattyconklin.com. That's pattyconklin.com.
Get high-quality glasses, sunglasses, and prescription lenses at eyeglasses.com. Choose from over 250,000 items and 400 brands. Already have frames? Get replacement lenses. It's easy. Go to our advertiser page and click eyeglasses.com.
If you're wondering if Patty can help you heal, why not book a free 15-minute consultation either by phone or by Zoom? It's a great way to see which of Patty's services is right for you. You'll discuss her services in detail and how they can apply to your specific situation. It's really a great place to start, and you can sign up for your free consultation by phone or Zoom on Patty's website, pattyconklin.com. That's pattyconklin.com. Get the help you need today. Sign up for your free consultation at pattyconklin.com.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Okay, and we are back. Oh, the time goes by so fast. When we left off, I was talking about that hot potato of unforgiveness and how people act out. They take that hot potato and then they throw it, but then a new potato shows up in their hand because I feel like people have that sort of built up in them, that toxicity in them, and they can't help but spew it. And then you said something I thought was just hysterical, another analogy. Say that again.
Yes, I said holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die. You know, you consuming it in your body and you're looking at them waiting for them to drop dead and they just never do, but meanwhile it's taking you out.
It's taking you out. You know, you mentioned about, our cells constantly dividing and forming new cells. Well, here's the deal. If you have a cell and it's bathed in unforgiveness, and we can throw some trans fats and high fructose corn syrup in there too, is that cell going to be better than the parent cell, or is it going to be worse? Okay? If you think about it that way, we have 100% new cells in 7 years. 7 years, all of your cells have been replaced. Do you want them to be better?
Right.
And if yes is the answer, then you've got to let go of this unforgiveness. You're doing yourself the favor. You stop drinking the poison, because that's exactly what it is. You are poisoning, your physical, mental, emotional self. And so, the workbook, tell us about this workbook, because I think there's so many people would benefit from doing an exercise and a deep, honest dive and address forgiveness in their own lives, and particularly, at least for me, forgiving myself. Tell me about that book, that workbook.
Yes, that forgiveness workbook, it's a guided journal, and it's 90 days. It's pretty long to think about it. Most of us who have things, when we're carrying unforgiveness, we've been carrying it for 40 years, 60 years, 25 years. So it's not something that you're going to get in and out of really quickly, and it's definitely a process. And the idea that I had in mind when I created the Forgiveness Guided Journal is to help people to be able to grow in forgiveness, because we are so conditioned in this world today to think everything is so transactional and so quick. You know, we want everything to happen quickly. We want to get online quickly, so we buy faster internet. You know, we want to eat our dinner quicker, so we use the microwave. You know, everything is quick. But the truth is that it is necessary when it comes to something so sincere as forgiveness or unforgiveness that we need. It's something that has to be cultivated, just like you cultivate the land if you're growing seeds. So the idea is for you to grow in forgiveness. And so the GROW is an acronym. G is to give up the need for the past to be different than it was. The R means to release your attachment to the event, the facts about the event. They did this is how they did it, you know. And then the O is for you to opt out of the rerun and the replay and the rehearsal of just running that movie trailer in your mind. And then the W is to help you to write your new life story. And here's the thing that people don't understand when it comes to forgiveness. You can release, surrender, and let something go and make up a new story, and you can make it up. You can make it up. If you don't like the mother or father you had, tell yourself you had a different mom or dad. Like, you can create what you want in your own consciousness, because it's your consciousness.
Yeah.
The most important thing is for you to let go. And so the reason I made this journal 90 days is so that you can go through it and have your moments of really understanding that you're uprooting something that is deeply rooted inside of you.
Yeah, and that doesn't, that can't happen in a day. No. And I would bet that a person going through that workbook uncovers other things that they need to forgive either someone else or themselves, or they thought it was one thing or one person or one event, and it turns out it's other things that are connected to that. And so if you don't stop and really let it percolate and really feel it and really give it your focused attention, you can't clean that stuff out. No. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, it would be great. I mean, I wish I could get a tricorder, you know, from Star Trek and just, hey, you know, just scan me and get all this stuff out of me, you know. That would be great. But it doesn't work that way. And what I'm finding is that the more work I do, the more I uncover. And for every step I take forward, there's at least a half step back.
Yes.
And so it's an ongoing process to forgive, and this ongoing process to become that better person that you want to be. So Greta, tell all these fine listeners how they can reach you, because I will tell you, my life has changed in such a positive way from working with you. You have just shared so many things with me that I've learned and I've worked at, and I've been diligent, and I check in with you periodically when I come across things that, you know, when I fall down. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you to get you know, whether it's their business or personal or whatever. Just share with them.
Okay, I will. And then I'm going to say this, the last thing I want to say about forgiveness. A few things I want people to know. Number one, forgiveness is an inside job. It's got everything to do with what you got going on inside of you. The second thing I want to leave you with is forgiveness is not a spectator sport. It's not something that you're just going to sit over here and you're going to do it one weekend and it's going to be like, oh, that's done. I can check that box. It's not like that. And the third thing I want to say is that forgiveness is a daily spiritual practice. So it would behoove people to consistently do those things. I just want to make that, you get that clear. It was just at the top of my mind, on the tip of my tongue. So how can you reach out? Oh, my gosh. You can find me at centerforselfawareness.com is the website. CENTER for selfawareness.com. Centerforselfawareness.com. You can also reach out to me at mirrorworkworks.com.
That was your other book. Another fantastic 21-day self-love.
Absolutely. Mirrorworkworks.com. You can find me on social media outlets at Coach Greta. I am on LinkedIn at Greta Counts. And you can reach me through email at iamcoachgreta@gmail.com. iamcoachgreta@gmail.com.
Well, I encourage you, anyone out there, even if you don't feel like you have issues, you probably do. I mean, it's just the reality. Give Greta a call. Call for your organization. She works with teams. She works with leaders to help them lead better. You will be better off. If you can't do that, grab her books. Do the forgiveness. I promise you, I know from my experience that I am just freed up. And I want to thank you again for such a wonderful time today on our show. Greta, we will have to have you back. You take care, and everyone, Patty and I will be back next week. Take care.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Patty Conklin Show on HealthyLife.net radio. To listen to it again or share it with a friend, visit HealthyLife.net podcast on demand link on our homepage and click on Patty Conklin.
HR News at 7.